It's that time again.
Yep. We are Team Wester.
And you are the most important thing to us.
Team Wester
Podcast. It's all about the team.
Welcome to another edition of the Team Wester podcast. I'm Brad Gelber, joined by always Reid Ferguson. Reid, good to see you.
Glad to be back.
So we have a really offensive episode of the podcast tonight, but not in the sense of inappropriateness or offensive words. We have a star offensive player on the podcast, so we're super excited to welcome to the Team Wester podcast tonight, running back James Cook. James, thank you for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So first off, I got to say, awesome hat. I love it. I know you already got some compliments when you walked in the room, but I think a style, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. Is that something you enjoy a little bit of, some uniqueness to your style there a little?
Yeah, I just felt like it was Halloween, so I just thought it on.
Yeah, I like it. All right. Well, one thing I like to do when we have people on the podcast is I think most people probably that watch the Bills know who you are at this point, but I like to kind of take a step back and talk about maybe your journey a little bit. So one of the things I think is interesting for a lot of people, we talk about a lot with Reid on the podcast, is kind of his brother plays in the NFL. So for people that may or may not know, your brother plays in the NFL, Dalvin Cook. So growing up, I was curious, when you guys were younger, was this kind of like always the dream for you guys in your family, football, or was it kind of like, did it just kind of happen to become a thing where you both ended up in the NFL? Kind of tell me about that a little bit.
I mean, we had an oldest brother.
Yep.
He was playing football, and then he transitioned and went to basketball, but I think he kind of like paved the way and like showed us like, we could do it, like, because since he started doing it first. So I mean, just a path, you just follow it and whatever it happens, and just hope it's successful. But I mean, just having them older brothers to lean on and having a brother in the NFL is a plus, because you get to learn from him and seeing the mistakes that he made and grow from them. So I felt like that's like a good help for me.
What was I guess from, you're the youngest of the three?
Yeah. I guess boys.
From the oldest of me and my brother, what was one thing that you kind of took from Dalvin or your older brother that kind of meant the most to you along that journey?
Just the way they work. Like, even when my oldest brother played basketball, I mean, he'll be in the garage like 3 a.m. just dribbling basketballs. I mean, I kind of wanted to play basketball too, so I just go in there and dribble it with him. So, I mean, just having that motivation to see him get up at 3 a.m, then have to go to school, high school at that. So just seeing that and just kind of going off that.
So you're obviously originally from Miami or that area in Florida there, correct? I got it right. All right. So I was reading a little bit about your journey kind of to college, and I was reading kind of you had originally committed to Florida State, which is, I believe, where your brother played, and then you kind of changed course and ended up at Georgia. I believe you had offers maybe at Louisville in Florida as well. What was it about Georgia? Like, how did that path end up aligning for you to end up there?
Well, I was committed to Florida State, yeah. So through my whole high school career, once Jimbo got fired, I kind of decommitted and went to Georgia. And I mean, just the loyalty that they showed to me. Dale McGee, who was my recruiting coordinator. He the head coach at Georgia State right now. Him, my running back coach also. So he just leaned on me and just took care of me, taught me life after football, and he just stayed on me, and it paid off.
Yeah. And then obviously your senior year, you guys had a lot of success there. You won the national championship game. So what was that like kind of before, you took that next step to the NFL, getting to kind of go out on top, if you will?
I ain't gonna lie, that's the greatest feeling ever, to win the national championship. Like, just all of the work that you put in through the offseason with the guys that you came in with. It was just a great feeling. And I don't know, it don't even feel real like when you win it. So it's just like, just winning it, going out with a bang, and going to the draft and getting drafted the way I got drafted. I mean, and that kind of helped too. So the way that kind of all evolved, it kind of helped me.
So I wanted to, you just hit on it, getting drafted second round in 2022, going from, like you said, you grew up in Florida, went to Georgia. going from the South, so very hot down there, very hot and humid, going all the way up here to Buffalo. What was the biggest adjustment for you going through that rookie season in 22?
It's just I ain't gonna lie, it's a mind thing with the snow. It's just like is you either gonna go out there and play or you not. I mean, and I just had that mindset where it's gonna be here. You can't run from it. So just go out there and play football.
For sure. And one thing too, I think from your position, at least being a running back, that you always talk about establishing the run, especially in the cold or the snow. So for you, I'm guessing there's probably like in your mind, if you're going to go to a team, you probably want to go to a team that's going to utilize your skill set a little bit in that regard as well.
Yeah. But we still throw the ball in the snow. It could be windy. We still throwing it, but
not everybody can.
Yeah, that too. But just I don't know, man. Just adjusting. You got to run the ball. So. In the snow, so I mean, just having that mindset, like I said, and just kind of ready to play.
What was the coldest game you played at Georgia? Can you think of one? I played 2 games at Arkansas, and that was it. That was really the only cold games that I played in college.
Like in Athens, or
just away
Georgia?
Game, any like the coldest
Missouri.
game, Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's cold. It was my junior year. That game was cold.
Like November, maybe. Yeah. Later.
It was
in the
like
season.
mid in season.
Yeah.
That was my coldest game.
Interesting.
So as a rookie, you actually played in 16 games, so you got to play in kind of the full gamut. That was before we moved to the 17-game schedule there. What did you attribute that to? Is it just kind of, I know that's not always the case for rookies, so the fact your body was right or your mind was right to be able to kind of step in and play in every game, was that something that you kind of pride yourself on being available that much?
I mean, yeah, that's the ultimate goal. You got to stay available, to be able to do what you want to do and succeed. You got to take care of your body, do all the little things to help you get the edge, and just stand on course. But I kind of blew it this year though, because I missed the game.
Well,
so
we were gonna get to that. I know you pride yourself on that.
I was finna get to that point.
Yeah,
but,
it's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen
eventually.
The position I play.
Yeah. And then obviously that year you also got a rushing touchdown versus Miami in the playoffs in the wild card game when you guys won that game. I know you said it's hard to beat the feeling of winning a national championship game, but I have to imagine that's kind of going to be one that sticks out in your head for your career, is that first playoff touchdown for you.
Oh, no doubt. Just even being in the playoffs in general.
Right.
When I got in the league, I was hearing all these little sayings that most people don't even see the playoffs in how many years they ever played. So just a blessing to even be in the playoffs my rookie year and be able to score a touchdown.
I always try to tell guys, like the new guys that come every year, because we've been in the playoffs, I think, for maybe 4 or 5 years in a row now since 19. Like, don't try not to take it for granted as much as you can, because my first couple of years here, we weren't that great. We obviously broke the drought in 17, but for a couple of years there, we weren't going to the playoffs. So it's definitely a gift when you can get the opportunity to keep playing in January. So 2023 last season, you became the starting running back. Obviously, we signed Latavius as kind of the vet guy in the room. What are a few things you learned from him kind of throughout the season as you kind of took on the starting role and played with him?
A guy like him played in the league for a long time at his age too. He was still playing last year, so I learned a lot. Just the way you take care of your body, the way you go about your business. Just the way you carry yourself every day. Guy like him, you can always learn from.
For sure.
And he also played with my brother too. So
yeah, which is a good transition, because
cool.
we did want to ask you too. Last in 23, your brother was actually in the division playing for the Jets. Reid goes through that now all the time with his brother playing for Miami. So what was that like? Like, did you guys kind of jab each other? Was there any trash talk? Was it just kind of like business as usual? What was that like?
Every time me and him play, it's always gonna be back and forth.
Yeah.
But I think he up right now 1. Because when he was at the Vikings, they beat us.
Okay.
And then when he was at the Jets, they beat us that first game. And then we came back and beat him the second game.
Yeah.
Was that the 2022 game? your rookie season, the Minnesota? Okay.
That crazy game.
Yeah.
And then game one of last
and then
year.
last year he was in New York. He had just signed
Jets,
there, right?
yep.
Yeah. Gotcha. We had a cool stat that I didn't realize, but saw it when we were kind of doing some research. You surpassed 1,000 yards last year, first time since Shady in 17. I thought that was pretty cool. Was that maybe some special meaning for you?
Like coming in last year, like knowing that my role was gonna increase, like I just had goals set that I wanted to accomplish. You know, each and every week I tried to go hit them goals, and at the end of the season, I accomplished most of what I wanted to accomplish. But the ultimate goal is always to win the Super Bowl. So
Sure.
For sure.
And then making the Pro Bowl on top of that.
Yep.
yeah.
Getting to spend a week out there with with basically the best guys in the game. Did you get to kind of bounce ideas off of anybody
Of
that you
course.
looked up to?
Just talking to Derrick Henry when I was out there, you know, he would just, the way he take care of his body and do the little things to get an edge, and you know, just keeping the course, the main thing.
Was there anyone growing up that I know you mentioned like you looked to your brother with basketball and things like that. Was there any guys in the NFL or football that kind of you wanted to model your game after when you were younger, or was it kind of just, you know, you wanted to do your own thing type of thing?
A crazy thing too, when I was young, I never played offense. So
Okay.
It was like when I was going into like, I say 6th or 7th grade year, that's when I started playing running back.
Okay.
Didn't know what I was doing or nothing, just running the ball. So it was like I'm just out there. But I played linebacker, so I always look at defensive players like Ray Lewis and things like that, and want to be like them.
For sure.
Yeah.
Was there a reason you kind of decided to change course? Was it a coach or someone that kind of guided you to, hey, try running back, or was it just how did that all come to be?
Nah, I kind of. I'm an athlete, so you know,
Sure.
I feel like I can play both sides of the ball. I mean, I actually played both sides of the ball in high school.
Okay.
And you know, just being an athlete, you can. Growing up in Florida, you got to play both sides.
Sure.
So like, it's gonna happen.
You think Travis Hunter can do it in the league?
I don't know. It's tough. Like you got to go on defense and play all them snaps and go on offense and come back. So I mean, he's an athlete. I mean, he's a special player. Never take that away from him, but it'll be hard. Like, not saying he can't do it, but you know.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of transitioning from last year, your first year as a starter, to this year, AFC Offensive Player of the Week in Week 2. You guys have obviously had some success this season. What's it kind of been like taking that next step now? And you know, you went from the starting role to really establishing yourself as one of the top backs in the league at this point.
The main thing is keep going, man. You know, just keep working hard, keep leaning on my teammates, and just keep playing good football.
I wanted to ask you about Joe taking over full-time this offseason. Obviously came in as he was here, but took over as the interim last year as offensive coordinator. What are some of the things that some of the things obviously that you can share that he's kind of implemented this offseason that has really changed the offense? And then wanted to also ask about the league changing more to a run with the 2 high safety stuff that's been kind of viral lately. And how that's kind of changed your approach to the game.
I mean, starting off with Joe, you know, he came in the second half of the season. And I mean, he established himself. Like, he came in and saying, this is what we finna do. And he stood on it, and just making the players comfortable and make it comfortable enough for us to go out there and play freely, you know, not having to worry about this and that, and just going out there and just playing football. So I mean, that second half of the season, he kind of made us, I wouldn't say necessarily made us take another step, but like he made us more comfortable in the scheme and what we was running. It just made us take that extra step. And you know, just whenever you get a 2 high safety too, you always supposed to run the ball. I mean, and just, you know, the player that we added, I feel like that'll give us more looks with 2 high safeties, because you gotta be able to watch him. So it's like, yeah, we could better run the ball more this year.
That's actually a great point. I didn't even put in here. Getting a guy like Amari Cooper on the team, obviously you kind of just alluded to it, but it opens up the offense in different ways, as you already said. What was your reaction when you first heard that he was coming to Buffalo there?
I ain't gonna lie, I was excited.
Yeah.
Just not only excited for the team, excited for Keon, because like it'll help him like learn and be able to see what he do and kind of take his game to another step.
For sure. I wanted to ask you guys too. I saw the video, and I know that Amari was asked about it after the game. I think Keon too. But it looked like on Amari's touchdown that he kind of looked over to Keon, and Keon kind of motioned to him, kind of the audible there. Did you guys see anything with that, or does that surprise you that you guys are just kind of lean on each other in those moments? Because it's got to be crazy. You're traded, you have like a day with the team, and then you're out there in some big moments for the offense there.
I mean, it's a credit to him. He stay out to practice, walk through on his own, kind of take it serious. So I feel like he probably ain't hear the alert, but that's where good communication comes from. Right. So it's like he communicated the play back to him and led it to a touchdown.
Yep.
You kind of hit on a few minutes ago with the toe injury and kind of missing your first game. Obviously, heard a couple weeks ago, missed the Jets game. How have you kind of been mentor to Ray, who had to take over for your, in your position for that Jets game? What does he look to you for, kind of throughout the off season and into training camp in the first part of the season?
I mean, me, I'm not a big of a guy that really talks. So it's just me by leading by example, just the way I work, how I come in and do my daily routines, and he probably follow. I mean, when he out there, I just tell him, man, just play football. You've been doing this your whole life. Just keep doing what you're doing. The stage is never too big. Don't let it get too high. Yep. And just keep doing what you've been doing.
One thing, too, I think is interesting is a couple weeks ago, I think it might have been the first game of this, one of the games where you had one of your biggest games. I think it was week 2, because that was when you were named AFC Offensive Player of the Week. Josh, jokingly after the game, said that you had been saying to give you some touches at the goal line, that he always kind of steals those away from you. And he said, I'm sick of scoring all. I want James to get the touchdown. So what's that kind of been like now, having a legitimate option for Buffalo outside of just Josh having to put his body on the line? Like, you're there to fill that void for the team.
Yeah. It also gave me more touchdowns than I had. But, I mean, just be able to show my versatility, I can run it on the goal line or on the 1 yard line and score. So, I mean, just giving them that trust in me that I could do it is always big. And
is goal line rushing, do you approach that differently than when you're out in the normal field of play? Is there a different style of, like, does it take something different?
You got to get your jaw right.
Yeah.
You got to strap your chin strap up a little tight, because they taking up all the gaps. Yep. And you just got to put your head down and get a yard. Yep. So it's just a mindset.
Similarly, one of your strengths, I would say at least, is the receiving game as well. Like that, something that you're really capable of doing and have opened up the offense a little bit. So do you pride yourself on that? Like, as you were kind of going through college and stuff, were you looking to develop your receiving skills outside of just running to give yourself some versatility out there?
Oh yeah, I mean, the more you could do, the more you is like a threat on the field. The more they got to watch you, and they open up more schemes for people to get open and score touchdowns.
For sure.
What is kind of we'll finish up here in a minute, but what's you talked about last season, your goals that you had set, obviously 1,000-yard rushing, taking over the starting job, making it to the Pro Bowl. What are some of those goals that you can share with us that you set for this season?
I mean, the same goals, Pro Bowl, All Pro, lead in rushing, in 1,000, and just more touchdowns and just winning Super Bowls. That's about it. Yep. But the main goal is winning the Super Bowl right now. So once I win the Super Bowl, all of it gonna happen.
Yeah.
And we get paid more money.
Yep.
Love it.
When you think about winning the Super Bowl for Buffalo fans, I think you both can kind of think about what that would mean to this city, never having done it before. Is that something that kind of like goes through your mind, like you want to do it for these people? Like, what's that feel like?
All season I'll stay in Buffalo for like a month.
Yep.
I won't leave.
Yeah.
It's gonna be wild. You ain't gonna be able to leave.
Yeah.
Where you gonna go? It's
Yeah.
only but so small. It's gonna be nuts though.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nuts.
Right there with him.
He's gonna be right here.
Yeah, you heard it. James is not leaving for a month after
It's
we
going to
win
be
the
a week
Super Bowl.
parade, not just a one-day parade. They're going to have a parade for a month. They're going to have a parade for a month, probably.
The last thing I think we'll probably ask you here before we let you go, and thank you again for your time, is just, Reid and I were talking a little bit before we started filming about how the league has maybe somewhat moved away from like, paying the running back or like giving as much credit where maybe it's due. It's like a little bit more of a passing league now. So do you kind of like take pride in developing yourself to be like, hey, like running back's still really important. Like not anyone can just go in there and do that thing. Like that's why you want to be here and you make it happen type of thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, like by me catching and things like that, just the more versatility and more versatile you is, it's gotta pay them. The more you could do, the more you can contribute to the offense and help the team is, hey, we're gonna see.
Yeah.
But we ain't thinking about that right now. But we thinking about playing football, winning games.
Yep.
Super
And
Bowl.
like we said, Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Pack Buffalo out when we win the Super Bowl.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, James. I really enjoyed kind of talking to you, getting to know you a little more. And obviously the goal is to win the Super Bowl here in Buffalo. James said it multiple times. So we'll keep tabs with you this season for sure. Thanks so much to James Cook for joining us. A really awesome episode of the podcast. We're really looking forward to talking to you more this season. We'll be right back to talk a little bit more football, just Reid and I, after this. Reid, I think, I was thinking about this. Last time we met, things were not going perfectly for Buffalo. And since we've met, things have gone much better. So I'd like to say the podcast is the catalyst for all positive change that's going on with Buffalo. I'm not sure you would agree with that.
We're 2-0, I guess, since we recorded last. I should have worn the same, outfit that I wore last time.
Superstitious.
But it's been a good couple weeks. Prime time in New Jersey.
Yes, New Jersey.
Or East Rutherford, I guess, to be specific, which was, quite an, exciting game all around. A lot of great plays, a lot of great players on the field for both sides. And then obviously yesterday, finally back home.
Yes.
I felt like we hadn't been home in forever. I think, I don't know what the date of the Jacksonville game was.
Right.
On that Monday night, but it had to be close to a month that we were away from home. So it was great to be back at home in front of the fans, and obviously to get a huge victory was amazing.
Yeah, and you and I talked about this, just the fact that it was the first time in your career you could remember with, I think 3 weeks away in a row. So coming back home, I know you already kind of said it, but it had to just be a nice change of pace to have to be able to sleep at home and go through your routine at home and hey, I don't have to get on a plane and fly somewhere.
I was packing my bag on I guess it was Saturday for the hotel the night before the game, and I grabbed the wrong. I take a different, like a bigger bag when we take the plane to go to an away game, and I grabbed the wrong bag. I told my wife, I said, I have this muscle memory packing like my travel bag, as opposed to, the bag that I take for home games. So it's just like it had been ingrained in my brain for a couple weeks now that I was just going to drive to the airport.
Yep.
But we're excited, 3 games in a row away. I think since when we had 16 games, I think, that
could ever happen.
Hard pressed that it ever happened. But once they added the extra game, you're going to have 8 or 9 home or away. It's never going to be even, especially when you play. Even when you play a foreign game, somebody's, it counts as a home or away. It's not a neutral, site. So I guess, it could happen to somebody in the future. Yeah. But we tried to give it our best shot. And, 2-game win streak, and we're looking forward to traveling out to Seattle this week. not looking forward to the flight, but I am looking forward to playing out there. It's one of the 2 stadiums that I have not played a game in yet. So
it's the last one,
San Francisco.
That. Okay.
And that I think on the if you look at the schedule timer or schedule rotation, maybe I think we should play there maybe in 27.
Okay.
Because we were supposed to play there in COVID. The 2020 year, it got I think the county that that their stadium is shut down, so we had to move, and we played them in Arizona.
That's right. Yep.
After we had already been there once that season, so I was sad about it at the time because I was like, gotta knock that one off the list. But Seattle, I'm excited about going to Seattle
for sure. So we'll get to Seattle in one moment, but looking back, the last time we met, your team was 3-2. Kind of had lost a couple in a row there, and we were talking about how big that game on Monday night was going to be. Always division games are big, but then the fact just if the Jets had won that game, they would have had taken over the tiebreaker. They'd be in first place. Since then, not a lot has gone right for the rest of the division, and you guys are 5-2, so I believe you have a 3-game lead in the division now.
Yeah.
Same thing we talked about before, not getting too high, not getting too low. It's kind of just, keep winning week by week. So I assume that's still the same mindset now that you guys are doing better here.
Definitely, very much so. I mean, week to week, you try to go 1-0 every week, and when you look at it, 5-2. I think second and third are 2 and 5, 3 games up on both of them. Really 3.5 if you're including the tiebreaker. So we're in a good spot, but there's a lot of ball left. The Jets added a great playmaker last week, just like we did. So a lot of ball left, and we got a lot of good teams to play coming up soon.
Yeah. So I did want to ask you about the trade deadline, because similarly we talked about during training camp, like cut days is a really tough day. Mm-hmm. A lot of good people get kind of released or end up on a new team. So trade deadline, similarly, it seems like the last couple of years there's been some big names kind of moving around. Obviously Devontae Adams ends up in the division. Amari Cooper ends up in Buffalo. Sure. What's kind of like the high and low, at least for you guys that are on the team? Like, we find out in Twitter or the media or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, Amari Cooper. And like, but I imagine similarly, you guys are like, oh my God, Amari Cooper. Yeah. So like, how does that go?
I mean, I was thrilled when I saw it. I think it was last Tuesday when we traded for him. And I mean, you heard James earlier. He was ecstatic too.
Yep.
And I think it was, the whole team was excited, because I think there's enough knowledge to go around that adding a guy like that, a top-end receiver, kind of opens it up for everybody else, right? He had some great catches on Sunday, and some kind of unconventional looks for the offense. Josh was throwing some balls to him that you don't really see him throwing to kind of the other guys on the roster, because that's kind of not their game.
Sure.
With Khalil, kind of the underneath guy, Keon catching some longer stuff. Different stuff like that, I guess. But I'm definitely no offensive guru. But I guess that's just my extremely low level understanding of the way football works. But like I said, it's very exciting to add a guy like that, and I'm glad we added him when we did. Right. You got 12, I guess, including Sunday. Had 12 more games with him. So it's gonna be. It's going to be a great season. Yeah.
And I know we asked James about it. He kind of gave us that perspective that he was in the building late, kind of trying to like learn as much as he could in a very short amount of time. I don't know if you've seen that from other guys over the years or anything, but what was it like to the degree you got to see some of that? Just him arriving, like I said, he was traded. He had like a day to get ready, and then he's literally out there with a whole new team. I know he was asked about it a little. I think he said coming from Cleveland was helpful because Ken Dorsey is there now, and some of what you guys do on offense is still predicated around kind of his offense. So it's not, there was some similarities, but just the preparation that would take to even have any semblance of the playbook in time to play in that game and make an impact at that too.
For sure. I think, I saw a little bit of his presser, when they basically told him when he was traded, hey, you're playing on Sunday.
Yep.
And, I think if you put yourself in his shoes, he multi-time Pro Bowler, 1,000-yard season multiple times, has kind of been at the top of the game for basically, most if not all of his career. A guy like that is going to be responsible enough to do everything you just said, to stay late, to get stay with the receivers coach, talk extra with Josh, watch extra film, making sure that for however many plays he's going to be put out there on Sunday, he's going to know what he's got to do, and he's going to be in the right spots for Josh to rely on him, and he sure was.
Yeah, and I think we saw it even in the offense. Keon Coleman had a big game. Khalil Shakir had a big game.
Sure.
It's going to open up the offense for all these guys. James Cook, obviously, Josh. Everything's going to get a little easier when you have a guy that's creating space. I think that's something the offense has maybe struggled with a little bit, is creating that space. And now when you have that other weapon, it naturally is going to create some more space. I thought Keon's interview was interesting after the game. He always has an interesting way of putting things in perspective. I think he said something like adding Amari Cooper was like when you add someone in your household who has money, because everything gets a little cheaper then. So I thought that was like a really interesting way to put it.
That is the most Keon Coleman answer I have ever heard. Yeah. But I'm sure, it's spot on. Yeah. I want somebody to join my house with a lot of money and make everything cheaper. I guess, that's a good way to put it.
But to the degree, in all seriousness, like even a guy like Keon Coleman, James said it, like a rookie, there's a lot of pressure on him to step in. Obviously, after we've talked about it numerous times, Stefon Diggs kind of departs, and there's a lot of pressure. But now there's just maybe a little less pressure, because now not only do you have a guy that's going to open up the offense, but he even said it. I want to coach this guy up and help him be the best he can be. Like what more could you want from that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. That's everything we're looking for. And Keon's gonna grow a lot from this. And I think the whole offense is gonna grow a lot from this. So it's gonna be an exciting next 11 games or so, 10 or 11 games with him. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah. And obviously Josh seemed pretty happy as well. So that's
Absolutely.
Always a good thing.
How could you not be? How could you not be?
Looking ahead, obviously, like we said, 5-2 first in the AFC East there. Big game coming up with Seattle. You already alluded to it. For people watching earlier, James and Reid were kind of laughing about how long the flight is going to be. I believe 6 hours. So definitely a better flight home when you win versus when you don't.
For sure.
What kind of do you guys have to do to go in there and get that win on Sunday?
Yeah, I think try to build on what you did in the second half on Sunday, right? Rely on your playmakers, control the line of scrimmage, and play really sound defense and special teams as well. Just try to play. I mean, it's Coach hits on it all the time, complementary football. It really, week in and week out, you look at the teams that win, more often than not, they are playing complementary football in at least two, but, mostly all three phases of the game. So, we're, from my perspective, special teams, we're going to be doing our darndest to put the offense in good position and or the defense.
Yeah. I did want to ask you briefly. I know we said looking forward, but Sam was out there punting a lot yesterday. I know Tyler was back out there. He made all his kicks, so he had to kind of maybe boost his confidence a little. Kind of overall feeling on special teams right now. Are you guys kind of trying to finding your groove there now? You feel like a bit.
Yeah, it's anytime you get a day like that, the weather was beautiful.
Yep.
I think if you're playing outside on your front porch or your front lawn with your kids, you're probably thinking, "Oh, this is incredible." But it was awesome in the stadium a little, but the wind is something that we have to account for. So, first quarter we're going into it 3 and outs. Our number is called 3 times in a row, and we felt like we handled our business and put the defense in a good position those first couple drives. But you just we gotta start faster. That was a big thing we talked about going into the Jets week, is starting fast, and it's every week presents its own challenges. It's every game is almost like a game of chess, right? You're figuring out how are they going to attack us? How are we going to attack them? And vice versa on offense, defense, and special teams alike. So it's really every week presents its own challenges, really on every down. So and you got to take the weather and the some of the exterior circumstances into consideration, but you try to limit the effect that it could have on the game.
You know, one kind of thing as we wrap up here, I was thinking about is most people when they come to Buffalo, they worry about the Bills Mafia, the noise, the environment. Like you hear it. Amari Cooper was asked about it. He said it's a little different from anything I've encountered, and he's played for some passionate fan bases, whether it was in college or the NFL. But Seattle is one of those that is, you know, probably as close as you can get to the Bills Mafia with the 12th man and their environment out there in Seattle. I know you haven't played there yet, but from being an avid football watcher and a fan, is that something you're interested to see kind of how it stacks up when you guys go to Seattle?
Yeah, absolutely. And, considering they've got a good team this year, I'm sure they're going to be out in full force. I'm also sure that Bills Mafia will be traveling well, as they always do. But I got a little bit of insight from my brother. They played, Miami played out there maybe week 3 or week 4. And got a little bit of insight from him on how loud it was, how to handle it. So, nothing probably that too far away from what we've seen before, but it's going to be a cool environment.
And last thing I'll ask you here, going into preparation for a game like that, I know you can't give away all the secrets, but is it something you actually account for? Because I've heard about coaches, whether it's like blaring music in the field house or outside, or they're, clapping their hands in players' ears. Yeah. And I know sometimes you have to move to hand signals depending on how loud it is, but that all goes into preparation, I would assume, for a game when you know the environment's going to impact it. Yeah,
I think the main impact that you really see is the silent counts, the hand signals on offense and sometimes special teams. But as far as the practice stuff goes, music, crowd noise, all that stuff's playing over the speakers, of course. But we try to use that stuff every week. Whether you're playing at home and the defense has to deal with the crowd noise, or you're playing away and the offense has to deal with it. Right? You've got to be able to communicate well at a high level week in and week out to be successful.
For sure. Well, I think that if Buffalo is to win this game and they win a couple more, we might have to start doing the podcast every week, because I think that, at that point it's just going to be an automatic thing there. That's right. Reid, thanks so much for joining me as always. Love talking football with you.
Absolutely. It's been great.
We'll definitely do it again soon. But for everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you soon in another edition of the Team Wester podcast.